My name is John Van Alstyne. I'm an Anne Arundel County, Maryland resident, and I am a commercial fisherman, or what's called a waterman in the state of Maryland.
My name is John Orr. I've lived in Anne Arundel County most all of my life. Born in Montgomery County, but raised in Anne Arundel, as I like to say. I've been a waterman since 1976.
We're different from just being called a fisherman from other states because we harvest more than just fish. If you're given 12-month season, I may catch crabs, fish, oyster, muskrat, snapping turtles, minnows, eels.
My way of life, that's what I like to be. Out on the water every day that I can be, because that's what I like to be, on the water.
Some of the other things it entails is working in the icy winter, building all our own equipment. The average waterman builds every piece of equipment he has. There's not a store that we can just go purchase ready-made equipment. So you're part carpenter, part welder, part fabricator, and part mechanic. But the Chesapeake Bay watershed encompasses New York State, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia.
All the water runs through the bay.
If you pollute in upstate New York, you're affecting with my harvest, which ultimately is going to come back and affect your availability for seafood.
Susquehanna, the Tucson, the Potomac, all your major watersheds start way upland and end up in the bay. You get a lot of rain, you get a lot of runoff, you get a lot of erosion, a lot of sediment, all the nasties on the land end up in the water.
It doesn't have a place to absorb. If there's not buffers that's going to collect the water and let it slowly go into the environment and the groundwater, filter things out through woodlands, tidal marshes, all that stuff. It just runs straight into the Chesapeake Bay. As it goes into the Chesapeake Bay, it's taking all the chemicals, the green thumbs, the fertilizers that we put on our lawns, the fertilizers that are put on the fields, the human waste and the animal waste. If you have a septic system that's failed, it'll take that to the Chesapeake Bay. That's all nutrients and nitrogen, all things that are going to be pollution in the Chesapeake Bay. That nitrogen is going to hit the water. When it hits the water, it's going to do the same thing in the water that it does on shore. It's going to make things grow. And a lot of people think, well, that's not too bad. The water will clear up. Well, when that nitrogen hits the water, there's a blue-green algae that's going to thrive on it. It's going to grow. The water is actually going to get clearer. That's not necessarily a good thing, because as that algae grows, it's going to sooner or later die. As it dies, it's going to rot and decompose. As it rots and decomposes, it's going to consume all the oxygen in the water.
The first word you'll hear is overharvesting. Well, overharvesting is a part of it. Lack of recruitment of juvenile oysters and crabs and fish due to water quality is a bigger part of it.
The single largest problem facing me as a commercial fisherman, a Chesapeake Bay waterman, is water quality. Without quality water, without clean water, my occupation will fail. Our community is a very big part of our way of life. Without our local community understanding that you're going to have work boats, a fleet of them, start up at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. In some parts of the year, they may be coming in at that time of the morning. The sights, the smells. Sometimes of the years when we're painting crab pots or painting nets, the smells that are associated with that. My next door neighbor is an older gentleman, and when I was painting my nets with tar, he come walking over and said it's been years since he smelled the sweet smell of Georgia pine tar. So those are sights and smells of things that you have on the waterfront in commercial fishing, that when you have people that move in for a big change, they may not understand or associate that those smells go with the seafood dinner they're eating right down the street.
My father originally came down here and bought this property. It was the Oyster Crab House. Work boat tied up to an old pier. And, so the creek was dotted with oyster houses. There's no oyster houses left on the western shore. The community meant that everybody looked out for one another. If you were butchering a hog, everybody got a piece of the hog in the community. If you had a lot of fish, you gave everybody got fish in the community. That's a part of tradition that's been lost because there's no watermen left, and the community is so diversified. You know,
the engine breaks down. Everybody realizes that could be them tomorrow. Everybody's going to help get you towed in, get your engine hauled, get it built back together, and get it back in the boat so you can go to work. Because, like I said, tomorrow it could have been you. And the things that we're seeing that are different now is that we're having people move into the community that don't realize what we do. They see a quaint fishing community. You know, I can come down here, I can see the fellas going out and going to work. Oh, that's neat. Until they hear those engines start up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Until they smell the smell of the pine tar on the nets. They come down and buy a shack and turn it into $1 million mansion. And then wish to sell it to move on because, hey, there's noise over here in the morning. There's smells over here that I don't appreciate. The first thing that the realtor does is tell the waterman that's been 5 generations working on this piece of property, you're on a residentially zoned piece of property. You have to move all this equipment off this land and you can no longer do this. It took us 2 years to push the local county council to allow us to have the right to continue doing the maritime industry. But without that, 4th, 5th generation watermen were being removed from the very same land that their ancestors were using because somebody from outside moved in, didn't like what they saw after they had it, or wanted to make a big buck off of what they had. Those type of changes are every day of the week that we see on the river. Out of sight. Out of sight, out of mind. Their income's not made off of it. They don't necessarily attribute their seafood, their rockfish, their fresh oysters. You know, they can get oysters from Louisiana. They can get blue crabs from Texas. And the products that we harvest here today, we're no longer number one. Our water is too polluted to be number one.
I think people are just, you know, tired of hearing about it. But they need to realize we need to do something because it's not going to be too much longer, and we'll be able to go swimming and fishing and crabbing in the bay. I think everybody enjoys the water. I mean, or something from the water. They eat crabs or fish or oysters. They come and go swimming. Or they come and go sailing or boating in the bay. They love the bay. But they got to realize we're overusing the bay.
Realize that everything they do, the drive to the market, the brushing their teeth, doing a load of dishes in the dishwasher, realize that those simple things have impact on the Chesapeake Bay watershed.
You know, we're all partly responsible for the decline in the bay.